coordinated in advance. The UAE is not a state party to the ICC and has no obligation to cooperate with the court. Yet my client sat in transit in that country for more than 5 hours. I invite the registry's representative to present today in court to explain to the judges exactly how they believe this transfer was anything other than a gross abuse of process. Given the precipitous arrival of my client, an elderly man with debilitating medical issues, hard of hearing and poor of sight, he was taken to a hospital for observation. Only this morning have I met him for the first time with less than an hour to discuss legal issues. I have not been able to present him with a hard copy of the arrest warrant because we were not supplied with such. I have not even been able to explain to him what the prosecution requested when seeking the issuance of the arrest warrant. This is because the chamber only established a redacted version of the prosecution request last night. Other than to identify himself, my client is not able to contribute anything to this hearing. Most importantly, he is not able even to tell you that he has been informed of the charges as contained in the arrest warrant for a reason more pertinent to which I alluded in my written request to this honorable pretrial chamber this morning, and which is confidential in nature. Accordingly, I repeat my respectful request, which was rejected this morning, to postpone the substantive aspect of this hearing to the next week, when I will have the opportunity to sit with my client and to explain to him what a confirmation hearing is and what the disclosure is and how the prosecution alleges that he committed crimes. I thank the court for its attention and regret to say that I do not have instructions to continue my submission any further today. Thank you.
D'abord, concernant...
Thank you, Counsel. Now, with regard to the health issues of Mr. Duterte, I believe that the court has taken specific measures with regard to his health situation, and I note that subsequent to his arrest and when he arrived at the detention centre, the court's doctor was of the opinion that you were fully mentally aware and fit, and that you have undergone further checks and tests at the detention facility. And when you broached health matters, that's saying that you were not able to come to the hearing, the doctors who consulted with you were of the opinion that Mr. Duterte was not in a position to come to the hearing physically, but that if he gave a written permission, he would be able to take part via video link. Now, that is with regard to the health matters that you just mentioned. They are very important, especially concerning the matter of age. Now, with regard to the rights of Mr. Duterte, we have before us the registrar's or the registry's report that says that Mr. Duterte has been informed of his rights, including Articles 66 and 67 of the Rome Statute, and that that he is aware of his rights and that he is also aware of the charges against him. We have before us the report of the registry saying that he was also aware of the warrant of arrest in the English language and that he is very well versed in the English language. Once again, you have the possibility of these charges being read in English, which was the case today. I have read to you in the French language the rights that he has, Mr. Duterte, before this court. And I'd like to specify once again that this is an initial hearing in order for Mr. Duterte to be aware of his rights and the charges against him. And then there will be a full procedure that will unfurl leading up to the confirmation of charges that will enable Mr. Duterte to raise all the matters that you have just raised with regard to the warrant of arrest, with regard to the crimes committed, with regards to the charges, and any other matters associated with his arrest, and the matters of jurisdiction of the court. You have the opportunity to do this throughout these proceedings leading up to the actual confirmation of charges hearing. Now, counsel, with regard to your request for another hearing to be held next week, well, your initial request, that was, this was not accepted by the court. Now, you have seen the two decisions of the court that have been disclosed to you, and you are aware of the fact that these two decisions were refused. And this is by dint of the fact that this first initial appearance hearing does not need much preparation, as I have said to you on a number of occasions. I am now going to move on to the third stage, which is to set the date for the confirmation of charges hearing. After assessing all factors, including the need for the parties and participants to adequately prepare, as well as Mr. Duterte's rights, including his right to be tried within a reasonable time, the date for the commencement of the confirmation of charges hearing is September the 23rd, 2025. I would add that in accordance with Rule 1217 of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence, this date may be postponed by the Chamber depending on the progress of the proceedings, either on its own motion or at the request of the prosecutor or the defence. Before concluding this hearing, I would like to inform the parties of the next procedural steps. First, I would like to recall that in accordance with Rule 1212B of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence, the Chamber holds status conferences to ensure a small exchange of information under satisfactory conditions. These conferences are organised either ex officio or at the request of the prosecutor or the defence. Secondly, a set of decisions will be taken in a timely manner to ensure that the proceedings progress smoothly and expeditiously. More specifically, I am referring in particular to a decision on the arrangements and procedure for the disclosure of evidence, and a decision setting a timetable for the disclosure of evidence in such a way as to ensure orderly and efficient disclosure between the parties. In this regard, the Chamber orders the prosecutor to begin disclosing today the information on the basis of which the warrant of arrest was issued, and to complete this disclosure no later than within the next 7 days. The Chamber will also issue a decision on the participation of the victims who, according to the statute of the court and to the extent permitted by the Chamber, are authorised to present their views and concerns at this stage of the proceedings. We have come to the end of Mr. Duterte's first appearance hearing. I would like to thank all the participants in this hearing, the interpreters and the stenographers. This concludes today's hearing.
From the lead judge there at the ICC, Julia Antonella Montauk. It was clinical. It was a procedure by the book, as one of our legal experts said a while ago, Jeff. But there was also a moment there where Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea also appealed for President Duterte. President Duterte was there, but he joined via a video link.
According to Motok, the biggest contention for them today, or the biggest agenda for them today, Carmina, was that the chamber must be that the suspect must be informed of the crime as expected. Two is to ensure that he has been informed of the rights according to the Rome Statute. And the third one is the date of the confirmation of charges hearing, which was set in September.
September 23, 2025. It's a long ways to go. We're just in March, Jeff, but very interesting how former Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea, there standing as a legal counsel of the former President Rodrigo Duterte, how he described the former president and his state of health. At one point, the former Executive Secretary said that the former president is hard of hearing and poor of sight. He also called this whole process a gross abuse of process. He also said that the former president was summarily transmitted or transported to The Hague, and there was pure and simple kidnapping. And in a nutshell, the former executive secretary said that this is just political score settling, that he was abducted from his own country. But then, true to the procedure, Judge Yulia Antonella Motok just stuck to the process, said that this can be discussed in the confirmation of charges part of the process, because as she said, today's pretrial appearance will only focus on the three things that you mentioned, Jeff.
Yeah, so Judge Julia Antonella Motok did mention that Duterte's counsel, Salvador Medialdea, filed two motions in relation to this hearing, but Motok said that the two motions have not been accepted because of the nature of this very hearing, which again goes back to the process of ICC saying that with Duterte's first appearance, the only things that needed to happen was first, the suspect must be informed of the crime. Two, ensure that he has been informed of his rights according to the Rome Statute. And the third one would be to set a date to hold the confirmation of charges hearing. So from here, Carmina, it's going to be a long wait if it's set in September.
What is sure now is that the counsel of the former president is now indeed the former executive secretary Salvador Medialdea, even if Attorney Harry Roque, his former spokesperson, is an ICC listed counsel. We're talking about how long this will be to accredit Salvador Medialdea as his lead counsel there in the ICC proceedings, and sure enough, it was almost immediate that he is there standing as the lead counsel for the former president Rodrigo Duterte.
If you could only, I guess, imagine, Carmina, parang tagal na, no? Pero this arrest happened just a few days ago, and now we're actually seeing former President Duterte facing the judges at the International Criminal Court. Take note, however, para sa mga ngayon lang pong nanonood, ito po ay nakikita po ninyong video ngayon si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Siya po ay nasa detention center. Hindi po siya naka-attend dun mismo sa venue, no? Video link lang yung binigay po sa kanya. At ang sinasabi nga pong dahilan ay dahil nga po sa napakahabang biyahe pagkatapos po ng kanyang pag-aresto, syempre yung health reasons nga po ng dating Pangulo.
Doon din po kasi sa sinabi ni former Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea kung saan kumbaga ibinabahagi niya doon sa kay Judge Moto kung ano ang kalagayan ng kalusugan ng dating Pangulong Duterte. Sinasabi niya na hindi nasa mabuting kalagayan ang dating Pangulong Duterte. Pero sabi naman ni Judge Motok, tiningnan naman siya ng mga doktor doon sa ICC at napag-alaman na kaya naman niyang mag-appear, no, at humarap sa ICC kahit ba video link yan. Nakita naman ng mga doktor na kaya naman ng dating dating Pangulong Duterte. Kaya yung sinasabi niya na itong mga issue na gustong pag-usapan sana ni dating Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea, yung dun sa sinasabi niyang kidnapping at na ito ay dahil lamang sa away politika, ito naman daw ay pwede nang pag-usapan dun sa susunod dito sa proseso, which is, the confirmation of charges part.
So, uulitin lang po natin, sabi po ng korte kanina, na-check po si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte ng doktor mula po ng ICC at sinabi po na mentally aware and fit, for pre-trial itong si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Tapos yung hearing na sabi nga, di ba, bago pa magsimula itong trial, nalaman natin na yung kampo ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte gusto ipagpaliban. Kabilang na po dyan siyempre sa mga nagsabi ay si Attorney Harry Roque at si Vice President Sara Duterte kasi yung strategiya, kumbaga yung gusto nilang mapag-usapan. Pero sabi nga ng presiding judge na si Julia Antonella Moto, ang sabi niya, with regard to your request for another hearing to be held next week, this was not accepted dahil hindi naman daw kailangan ng preparasyon sa first appearance o sa unang pagpapakita sa korte.
Yeah, kasi nga, yun ang sinasabi ng isa sa mga ekspertong nakapanayam natin kanina, very clinical, it's a procedure that's by the book, no? Walang puwang para sa ganitong klaseng mga apela dito sa pre-trial appearance ng suspect. And ang suspect po niyan sa kasong ito ay si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Ito ang kauna-unahang pagkakataon na nasilayan ng publiko ang dating Pangulo pagkatapos na siya ay inilipat sa kustodiya ng International Criminal Court. At dun sa tanong ng presiding judge na si Judge Motok, tinanong lamang siya kung ano ang pangalan niya, kailan ang kanyang kaarawan at saan siya ipinanganak. At nasagot naman ito ng dating Pangulong Duterte.
At ang tanong po ngayon ay kung ano po ba yung mangyayari sa tinatawag na confirmation of charges sa September. Kung titignan po natin yung nilathala po ng John's France Press, yung AFP po. Ang sabi po nila, after a person surrender or detention, the pre-trial chamber shall hold a hearing to confirm the charges on which the prosecutor intends to seek trial. The prosecutor must convince judges that substantial grounds exist to believe that the person committed the crime or crimes charged and that enough evidence had been gathered to hold a trial. Doon po malalaman kung ang prosecution ba ay may papatunayan o nakakalap ng sapat na ebidensya para magtuloy po ito sa aktual na paglilitis.
Ganyan po kahaba ang prosesong kaharap po ng dating Pangulo dahil kung halimbawa naman ay hindi naging pabor sa kanya ang desisyon, meron pa ring susunod na hakbang at yan yung appeals part. So, ngayon po nandito tayo sa pre-trial, pagkatapos nito nandun tayo sa trial kung sakasakaling humantong nga doon. At kung humantong doon at hindi naging pabor sa dating Pangulo, meron pang isang bahagi which is the appeals part of the whole proceedings.
Ilang posibilidad po yung pwedeng mangyari once matapos po yung tinatawag na confirmation of charges na hearing na nakatakda po sa Setyembre. Ang una po dyan ay confirming charges para magtuloy na nga po sa paglilitis. Pwede rin po sabihin ng hukom doon o ng West ay mas kailangan ng maraming ebidensya pa mula sa prosecutor ay modify yung charges or i-drop yung charges altogether. Kumbaga, wala na. Hindi na magtutuloy sa paglilitis. So yun po yung next date na kailangan pong abangan. September, ano nga ba yung Carmina? 2025.
Meron ding nabanggit kanina, si Judge Motok. Kasi nagkakaroon ng gustong tingnan ni former Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea, ito ngang warrant of arrest, So parang pinagpapaliwanag din yung kabilang kampo. In 7 days, kailangan maipaliwanag din nila kung ano yung nangyari. Sa bahaging ito, makakapanayam natin ngayon si Attorney Nery Colmenares. Kasama niya ang mga pamilya ng drug war victims sa Cebu. Attorney Nery, magandang gabi po sa inyo.
Ay, magandang gabi Carmina, magandang gabi sa inyo ni Jeff.
Una-una, anong saloobin niyo po? Anong sentimiento nang makita itong pre-trial appearance ng dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte dyan sa International Criminal Court?
Yes, oo. Well, at least nasimulan na ah, sa kanya. Ito naman trial ito preliminary pa lang ito. Nandito ako ngayon sa Cebu. May watching din dito nang gaganap sa mga nanay rin ng mga biktima na nandito ngayon. Kaya medyo sayahan din sila na at last may naaninag sila na posible na trial kay President Duterte. Pero preliminary naman yon, so talagang expected naman namin na hindi siya tatagal. Dahil initial pa lang naman na hearing yan. Just to confirm the identity of President Duterte kung siya nga ba'y nasa warrant. And of course, to inform him of the charges sa kanya.
Mhm. Meron bang nasambit sa inyo yung mga kapamilya po ng biktima na kasama ninyo ngayon nung una nilang nasilayan itong si dating Pangulong Duterte? At yung mga sinambit rin po ni dating Executive Secretary Salvador Medaldea na ito po daw ay gross abuse of process at kinidnap daw po ang dating Pangulo. Ang sabi pa nga ni Executive Secretary Medaldea, my client was abducted from his own country. Ano po ang naging reaksyon ng mga kasama ninyo, Attorney Colmenares?
Siyempre, nung sinabi na kidnapping ang nangyari, marami, lalo na nung sinabing violate ang due process, may mga nag-react siyempre dito na iba't ibang tao dito, yung pamilya o kaya mga kaanak na iba pa doon sa sinabi. Kasi naalala daw nila na yung kanilang kaanak ay hindi man lang binigyan ng due process, tapos ngayon nagre-reklamo siya na siya ay nawala ng due process. Pero sa kanila, parang tanggap naman nila na kasi in-explain ko sa kanila bago lang yung mga karapatan ni President Duterte, doon binanggit naman ng judge. Okay naman sila doon na sige na kung yun ang karapatan niya, yun lang, nakakalungkot. Ibibigay natin sa kanya ang karapatan niya na pinagkait naman yan ng mga karapatan sa aming mga anak. So yun lang ang nila, kasi nagulat sila doon when I mentioned na ang rule kasi ng ICC, pag may nakita ang prosecutor na isang ebidensya na paborable kay President Duterte o kaya ay magpapa-acquit sa kanya sa krimen, tungkulin ng prosecution, na ibigay yun sa kanya at ipahayag yun, full disclosure yung sabi doon na siyempre hindi ata ginagawa sa Pilipinas, dito yan ang mga piskal pero doon kasi sa Rome Statute, even sa other jurisdictions like sa United States, required ang prosecutor na ilabas ang ebidensya na makapag-apekto doon sa makapagpagaan ng sentensya o kaya makapag-acquit sa akusado. So basically, sinabi ko itong mga karapatan na sinabi ng judge at wala naman silang tutol na bigyan siya ng i-recognize yung karapatan niya. Yun ang nalulungkot sila na nung panahon niya, hindi man lang niya binigyan ng ganong karapatan. Yung mga anak nila, walang warrant-warrant, walang korte-korte, patay lang agad kahit nagmamakaawa na.
Attorney Nery Colmenares, maraming salamat po sa pagsama sa amin ngayong gabi. Thanks again.
Maraming salamat din po. Thank you.
At yan ang ABS-CBN special coverage sa unang pagharap ni dating Pangulong Duterte sa International Criminal Court. Ako po si Carmina Constantino.
Ako naman po si Jeff Canoy. Maraming salamat sa pagtutok, kapamilya.